You're listening to the Live Free podcast. I'm your host, Christine, author, speaker, mentor, and guide. I'm here today to discuss living life after adversity, to discuss living life fully once again, a life of hope, peace, and resiliency, a life fully embodied. I utilize the lessons that I learned going through not one, but two primary cancers. I'm here today to guide you to your joy, turn your pain into power, and lead you back to yourself. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Live Free podcast. Today we have Krishna on the podcast. Krishna is a subconscious therapist, a PSYCH-K facilitator, an internal family systems practitioner, and an acupuncturist who has led over 30,000 patients and clients to their health and wellness goals for the past 22 years. She currently specializes in subconscious therapy, internal family systems, and the nervous system. Krishna's presence is calming and so gentle. I know that you will instantly feel relaxed as you begin to hear our conversation, as I have, and some great conversations and education around how we can begin to make positive change. Enjoy. Welcome, Krishna, to the podcast.
Hi, it's good to be here. Thank you.
Well, I'm really looking forward to our conversation. I know that you are really skilled in the area of healing and moving forward without the need for talk therapy. So let's have a conversation about that. But first of all, I am curious, where in the world are you tuning in from?
I'm in Portland, Oregon.
Okay, welcome. Welcome from Portland. I am in Saskatchewan, Canada, so we've got a little bit of a distance between us. I'm curious, what really brought you to this work, Krishna?
Okay, I will try to be concise, but I was led into the healing arts first through acupuncture at a pretty young age before a lot of people even knew what that medicine was and what it was good for. I was definitely in a point of like, there were still 13 states in the United States where it was illegal. And so acupuncture was really my first love in this life. And then from there, quickly got into Reiki and added that to my practice. And I've been doing both those things for 22 years now. But it was really a couple years before pandemic that I was ready to grow and was not jaded per se, but definitely like once you I say master, not in a egomaniacal kind of way, but I had been in practice for 16, 17 years, was like very successful, able to help lots of people. And it's really important to me to grow and stay inspired. And I wanted to grow my skill set. I started hearing about the subconscious mind on a podcast, went down the rabbit hole, found out about Bruce Lipton, who's one of my main teachers, and just really kind of got obsessed with the subconscious mind because it was the stuff that I had been waiting for my whole life. I did not understand why I couldn't make changes in my life that other people were able to just make and do and create lives the way that they wanted to. And so understanding that the subconscious creates 97% of our lives and that our programs and beliefs, our habits are all stored in the subconscious and we're all programmed, all of us. It's just a matter of which programs are running your life. um, I learned about PSYCH-K, which is the process I was trained in. I don't love the name, but it stands for psychology and kinesiology, and it was created by a psychologist who wanted to service patients in a more subconscious way. And it's actually very simple, which is one of the reasons why I love it. And what makes PSYCH-K special is that you not only get to unattach in a peaceful way from stress, triggers, or trauma, you also get to create new subconscious programs. And there aren't other ways of working with the subconscious that I have learned that are able to do that. So EMDR didn't do that for me, didn't even work. Hypnotherapy didn't work. I do love some tapping sometimes, but it's sort of like that would be more like reinforcing what you could do with Psych-K, which would do the heavy lifting. I love emotion code, but that's really just for emotions. It doesn't reprogram your subconscious. So I got into it because I started hearing about it and got obsessed. And then when the pandemic hit, like so many of us, I needed to pivot. My clinic closed for 9 weeks. I was like, what am I going to do? Found my teacher here in Portland. I did 3 out of 4 trainings here in this house. I ended up buying her house. She lived here for 25 years and taught subconscious transformation for 12 years, Psych-K, and knew that it was changing my life. But because I had been such a successful acupuncturist for so long, I needed to offer a little bit of this to my patients, sort of as like a trial and as an experiment. And then I mean, what I was hearing from patients was just so phenomenal and life changing without me even really asking for feedback. So it really helped me trust because being an acupuncturist and a doctor of Oriental medicine was such an identity and something I was so good at. It really helped me trust that, like, oh, I was led to this really because this is what we all need. We all need these tools to transform stress and trauma because everyone has trauma these days. It's like a big word, but it's real. We all have stress, trauma, and special needs.
Absolutely. Wow, your background is extraordinary. All the way back to when it was, what did you say, illegal in a bunch of states to practice acupuncture and healing? I did not know that that was so recent.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was way back, way, way back. And it's very recent that we've only just begun into this world. And you were one of the forerunners, really.
I know it's crazy, right? I mean, there are definitely people who've been in practice and have retired since me, but yeah, it was true. I mean, I really didn't know a lot of people who had received it. Definitely didn't know many acupuncturists. Now in Portland, especially, there are like 8 acupuncturists on every block. It's like
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah. Wow. I want to bring up something that was coming up for me while listening. I myself have been in coaching for 4 years. I've been fascinated with all of the subjects that you are fascinated with, and now I'm in school to become a registered professional counselor. And what I find so fascinating is that throughout my own personal healing journey, there was the same thing, that same theme that you're speaking about of like, you can have all the awareness in the world, but where does the change come in? Where is this like switch that you begin to flip that now you start to make actual changes? And it sounds to me like you have really landed with a lot of conviction on the Psych-K and on the subconscious reprogramming work as the thing that begins to shift it, as opposed to, just awareness, 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 which is really talk therapy in a lot of ways. But where does a talk therapy end and change begin?
I love that. Yeah, and for a lot of people, talk therapy does save lives, but for other people, they're still triggered, taking pharmaceuticals, pissed off, angry, avoidant of painful things 20 years into talk therapy. And that's because a lot of talk therapy, you're just working with the conscious mind, perpetuating the same stories over and over again, getting into the feelings and the emotions, but really no tools to clear it from your body and to be able to move on. And again, it's because it's so much harder to make change just with your conscious mind for behaviors and patterns, which is like most of the problem, right? It's very hard to change a pattern or a deep-seated belief when that's all you've ever known.
Hmm, certainly. Now, for someone who is brand new to the subconscious mind, they've never heard of this, they're kind of like 97%. What do you mean? How might you explain the subconscious mind to that person listening?
Yeah, the way Bruce Lipton describes it is he says that and I do not like comparing this to technology, but he says like the subconscious is the hard drive. It's where all of our programs are stored. And again, we are all programmed, and that can come from as soon as we are conceived, really. If you're a deeply spiritual person, you might even say before that. Um, but we start receiving information, we start receiving programs through the DNA in utero. And so then we come out into the world, and like what we observe, what we feel, what we process becomes our programming. And for a lot of us, it's all we know. it gets reinforced, these beliefs from our peers, from school, from other people, from movies, from music. And so having, mantras or having intentions, like all of that very lovely and helpful and important, but at the same time, it takes a lot of repetition for the subconscious to just be working at that level. So, what I typically find is like doing deep work with something like Psych-K and then using some of the other things just reinforce the new pathways and the neuroplasticity that we get to create with work like
Hmm.
Psych-K.
Okay. Okay. So if a person is at this stage where they want to make a change and they're a little bit concerned about this, the 97%, I heard repetition and neuroplasticity. So how might be a few tools that you might be able to give that person who's like, you know what, no matter what I do, and I hate to also use a typical that someone might say, but no matter what I do, I can't begin to exercise, for example.
Mhm.
Um, what might be something that you could offer that person to begin to change that 97%?
There are lots of things you can try to do on your own. You could listen to self hypnosis. You can, listen to that every single day. I don't sleep with technology in my bedroom. Some people, I haven't also heard a or like a self hypnosis that I'm like psyched about because I'm like, what are they really saying that I can't hear when I'm sleeping? But it's a good way to try, whether it's weight loss or love or money or healthy relationships. These are some of the things I get to work with a lot. You can work with visuals. The subconscious likes visuals more than words. So you could make an action board where you're putting up a few or a lot of images somewhere that you're going to see often throughout your day, whether it's your screensaver on your phone or laptop. For me, I made a board on Canva, and then I had it printed out onto Canvas and then put it up in my room. And then a couple years ago was realizing during a session with a client, I looked up at it while I was in session. I was like, oh my God, all of those dreams have come true. Like I really need to make another board. Um,
Wow.
and so, yeah, the feelings of things are really important too to the subconscious. So if you do want to set an intention in the morning and then practice connecting to the feeling, it's not going to work if you're stressed out or angry or something and you're trying to create change from that place. You really want to be like first thing in the morning when you're still a little sleepy, or right before bed when you're sleeping, when your brain is kind of more in theta state is ideal. That's when your brain is more receptive. And so if you're listening to meditation or having an intention or journaling, it's the most powerful time for your brain to receive information, especially if you're trying to make changes. So I would say meditation, connecting to the feeling and the intention in a theta state, very powerful. Action boards, I call them action boards because vision boards are lovely, but then you also want to like do things that would support the feeling or the goal that you have. Um,
Right.
it would be lovely if we had intentions and they just fell out of the sky. I guess for some people it happens, but for most people, no. So putting into action, like you have to know what you want so that you can then make choices to support that, right? So an action board, self hypnosis. You can have, your journal and like meditate and like write your stuff down every day that you want or that you're intending or your goals. People find a lot of power in healing and support in that. Again, if you want to get there quickly, I would say a few sessions of Psych-K, and then you use all these other things to reinforce those new pathways that have been created in your brain with Psych-K.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm curious with the sessions, is that something that you can do remotely? Is that something that you connect with people? Like what might happen in a session?
Definitely remotely, and somehow it works just as effectively. I was skeptical myself because I'm such an in-person person, but we do muscle testing both before and after what we call a Psych-K balance. And when I'm muscle testing with someone in person, it's very obvious what we're doing and it's very cool and it's always surprising to people. When we're doing it virtually, I'm simply asking to muscle test on your behalf and it works. So
Wow.
we muscle test to get in clear communication with your subconscious, a clear yes and a clear no. There's a part of Psych-K where we're always asking for permission to do something, which I love. I've never gotten a no, but I love that we ask permission. And then we do balances in Psych-K, and those are meant to get your subconscious into, or your brain into a whole brain state, is what we call it, so
Hmm.
that your subconscious can either peacefully unattach from that stressful or traumatic thing or thought or behavior, go in a new direction, or expand so that you can have a new program from which to create your life. Because if the program doesn't exist in your subconscious mind, it won't happen.
Mm. Yeah.
It won't.
I love that. And going back to the computer metaphor, it's a program. It's something that we have to put into the hard drive of the computer. Otherwise, quite simply, it's not going to recognize it.
Mm-mm. Correct. Correct.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then the conscious mind is like the keyboard. So you're typing information in, it's very important, but you really are doing just 3 to 5% with the keyboard, the conscious mind.
Right. Right. And that's what's really kind of bringing me back here is I'm thinking about so many people who are listening who are like, oh, yeah, that would be so nice to journal, but I have no time. Or it'd be so great to meditate or whatever else, but I can't sleep at night. And because they are in this chronic state of stress and I know I've been there. I mean, I think all of us really have. And where we have this intention of making a change in our life for the positive, and we use our keyboard. We use all of the intentionality from as much willpower as we can possibly push towards, being happier, living more fully, etc. And what we land up having is just tired willpower and no forward motion. So if we were to really, really go back to the really basics in order to get into a place where you might benefit from meditation or something like that, how can we access a slower, more kind of parasympathetic state in order to get in that better place?
I mean, that's a really beautiful question. And sometimes that's what I'm doing when people come to see me is I create the beliefs with people in their subconscious mind. I have the time to take care of myself. I have the time and energy to care for myself. My needs matter. I am inspired to work out after work. I am a great sleeper. If you've never had that experience, that's not going to be your belief. And so a lot of times I do get to reprogram around like, it's easy for me to make healthy choices. I love food that's good for me, stuff like that, because people will start programs and then they'll self sabotage because their self worth or deservingness around something is pretty limited or contracted. If you're doing stuff on your own, start off with just small things. It doesn't have to be all the things. It could be like you just playing binaural beats or theta brainwave music. It could be something like that. If you're not a journaler, that's okay. I love journaling, but I don't get to it very often. I love journaling. I would love to be able to just like not work and write. That would be great. But that isn't the blessing of most people's lives at the current moment. So, yeah, for me, I would be like, go for a walk outside in nature. Just sit there with the sun on your face for 2 minutes. Just
Mm,
take some deep breaths. Like start somewhere. It doesn't have to be big. Small step,
yeah.
but be consistent. Something that you can do consistently. And because again, that's going to break up the habit pattern. That's going to help um, change and create a new pathway in your mind with just something small. So
Mm, I
maybe
love that.
starting your day with a glass of water because you're always dehydrated.
Right. Yeah. It can be something simple and helpful that's going to make an impact in your life.
But
Um,
specifically to your nervous system question, I would say play binaural beats or like some theta brainwave music
okay.
the background, and that your nervous system's going to receive information by sight, sound, touch, smell. So that's a really nice place to start.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Very profound. I'm curious, going back into your own life. So you have had multiple businesses, clinics, all kinds of things. When you are in a state of extreme stress, what is your first go-to?
Sleep,
Sleep.
a bath with Epsom salt. I turn my phone off by 8:30 most
Hmm.
nights on purpose. Lately, I have been reading a book before bed, even if it's just one 4-page chapter. It's so much better for sleep than trying to scroll your phone and then just expecting yourself to go to sleep. We're not robots, people. Like, you really have to, like, get into a nice habit of decompressing and relaxing at the end of your day. Just turning that phone off an hour to an hour and a half before bedtime is so huge. Um, so sleep, hydration, taking a bath, eating well, even if it's 5 to 10 minutes of meditation. I take my dog on walks, I leave my phone at home. So those are things I do every single day. I breathe with every patient and client that I have, you know what I mean? I just set that intention. You can do that as well, no matter what your job is. You can do that before you go into a Zoom meeting, before you go into the office, as you're driving to work. You don't have to listen to the news. It's not gonna make you a crappy person to, like, turn off what's going on in the world and just take care of yourself for a few minutes. Um,
Isn't that the truth?
it is. And those are the kinds of habits that I get to help people change that have not been easy to change because a lot of us have the programs that we need to be worrying about all the things and feeling guilty about all the things, and it's beautiful to care and wanna make a difference, but, like, the best difference you can make truly is, like, learning how to come back into your energy, learning how to regulate your own system. It affects every single person you come into contact with, um, and it doesn't make you a shitty person. It just means that you're, like, literally changing things in your ancestry and your bloodlines, things that you're probably a cycle breaker by doing these kinds of things to be well within yourself so that you can serve from a place of wholeness instead of depletion or projection or reacting from your wounds like so many people are.
So many. Say more about, you said something and then I went, "Oh wow, that's a pretty cool one." Say more about how you affect everyone around you by your state. That one I think that's exceptional.
I mean, I've had to teach this one to myself because I used to feel really guilty for not reading all the news and knowing what was going on. I used to have some kind of shame for being ignorant in that way. And that's just not true. It's not.
Right.
I'm a mom. I am a person who's a daughter and a family member. I treat a lot of clients and patients every day. So I'm a space holder. I have a little garden. So I'm taking care of the land. And I just know that the greatest, and it takes all kinds of voices, right? So if you're a person that's out there protesting or doing policy work, like bless your heart. For me, it's like really, I'm learning how to master my own energy so that I am the tuning fork for all the people who come to see me. And more than enough. It's more than
Yeah.
for me, my family, my daughter, all my clients.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. How old is your daughter?
She's 16.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing. So
exactly.
I'm sure everything that you have been learning and creating in your own life has had a huge impact on her.
I mean, I hope so. She still gets irritated with me like she doesn't with anybody else, but, she sees me meditating in the morning. She feels that after I've, been taking great care of myself, I've taken a bath, went swimming, like sat in the sun, done my work. She can feel that. And just like anybody with kids or family members or coworkers, people can always feel your energy more than they can, sense even with your words. So it's no small task, but I think it's the most important thing that we can do. And this is a big program to change because most of us grew up believing that we had to take care of others or do things we didn't want to do or say yes to stuff when really we should have been saying no. And this is what makes you a good mom or a good person or a good woman or a good Christian or whatever it is. Um, and that's the kind of stuff I love to reprogram because it's just not
Mm.
true and it's just not helpful. Like, that's not the energy that's needed. It's not the healing that the world is asking for, um, from what I've seen in all my years.
Yeah,
So,
truly. And that what comes up for me while listening is um, so often a good a good woman believes that they should always bend to the current life that they're in. So, like, for example, if their husband is, not at all into any of this woo woo junk or whatever, then they're like, no, yeah, you're right, I'm not into it. And what with women, we are so feminine, and so to be in that feminine place, to be in that place of receiving, to be in the energetic field is so normal and natural. But we bend to the world around us, to society, to our husbands, whatever it is, and we reject that side of ourselves, which is so natural, I believe.
Yeah, that's another thing I get to work with a lot is a lot of like type A kind of alpha, very successful women who have learned to earn love and acceptance by proving their worth. And
Right.
now they're burned out, or now they want love and they want to step into more of their feminine so that they can be in the relationship that they're trying to manifest or call in. And it's a beautiful thing to help women like this reprogram that they're already worthy and deserving of love, that they deserve to receive the kind of support and stability that they, is like their birthright. Um, that they deserve healthy relationships. They deserve to be cared for. They deserve love without having to give and give and give.
Hmm. Very well said. I would agree. Okay, well, this has been some really fantastic information. It sounds to me like there's a lot of value in Psych-K, and what you said, psychology and kinesiology. So you basically the mind and the body, right?
Well, that's right. Kinesiology is the muscle testing, and then the psychology. We have all different kinds of balances in Psych K, but the two main ones I work with are where we get to transform the perceptions of stress or trauma, and then where we also get to talk about what you want and create the new programs.
Excellent.
Yeah, but there
What I hear is change therapy. That's what I hear. If
are
if you want to finally make a change in your life, then this can be a really, really powerful tool and
it's
has been instrumental in your life. And it's quick.
it's quick. It doesn't have to take talk therapy 20 years. It could be like a few sessions to affect all areas of your life. And then they just offer this because you are also in a therapy program. I'm also getting my master's in therapy. And it's not because I'm trying to get another master's, it's because I believe in this work so much. And I want it to be accessible to more people. And I'm also in internal family systems training. So I don't know if you've heard of that in your therapy program, but I
Yeah.
was also led into that by something much higher than me as well, and didn't know what I was getting into. But for people who need deeper inquiry, where Psych K doesn't mean to be like bypassy, the two of them together are just like, I mean,
That's
incredible.
one
It's
powerful,
just
one powerful combination.
so
Amazing. Amazing. Okay, well, if to our listeners, if there's anyone interested in learning more about what you do and the combination therapies and all of the different things, where might we be able to find you?
yeah, just my website, which is my name, and then same thing on Instagram or LinkedIn. I'd say most people do find me on Instagram. I post stuff on my stories, whether it's about um, testimonials or subconscious stuff or just like teachings. It's probably where people reach out the most. I love connecting. I'm just not online all the time, like lots of people, but I love to connect. So yeah, please say hi.
Fine. Perfect. Okay. Well, I will put all of those things in the show notes so that people can connect with you. And thank you so much for coming on and sharing your expertise with us.
Mhm.
I know that there's probably going to be many people with a couple of light bulb moments here going, oh, I see why I've not been able to connect
Mhm.
with that change that I want so badly. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for listening. If you loved this last episode, then consider rating the podcast. Those few seconds that it takes makes a huge difference. Also, if you are interested in mentorship, transformational programs, or reading the book Unbroken, Rising Above, Thriving Within,
Then take a look at the show notes for all the resources and links. Always remember, you can overcome any obstacle. Let's do this together.